What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Investing Bros. It is me, Tim, and we got a lot to talk about today because, yes, we had a big dip this morning. We've kind of had some volatility throughout the day, just as we said there would be. But what is happening next? We have some headlines to look at. We got some charts to look at. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at altcoins, giving you everything you need to know so you can prepare yourself. Because right now, I don't know if you've been out there searching the web yourself, but there is some misdirection and some stuff trying to send us everywhere. We don't want you guys to be falling for any traps. We want you prepared for what you can do next to be making some money. So make sure to stay tuned through the rest of the show. If you are already a subscriber and you come and watch the Investing Bros Daily, go ahead and smash that like button. Let's get some more people in here throughout the show. If you are new, thank you so much for choosing Investing Bros. So glad you are here. Let us know what you think of the channel, what you want to see, what you like, what you don't like. And if you do like the show, go ahead and smash that like button and consider hitting subscribe to not miss a single piece of content that we put out. But before we jump into all of those details of what you need to prepare for, let's go ahead and introduce our co-host today, Mr. T. Shroom from down there in Gainesville, Florida. T. Shroom, how are you feeling today?
Tim, I'm feeling better than I deserve. Got to be honest with you. I think I'm finally getting 100% better. I was sick just for the last couple days. But I ordered some Chinese soup from the local. It's actually called Gator China, but it's probably what you know and love as Gator or China 88 or China 1. You know, little Chinese takeout spot. And those soups are known to be healing, and so I hopefully healed five health from that soup. And
good.
Yeah, it had 5 mushroom in it, so it's good. It's good soup.
Oh, that's good soup. Good soup. That's very good. Yeah, it's I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest soup guy in the world, but sometimes when you aren't feeling good, I'm not going to lie, sometimes chicken noodle just hits the spot, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a quote from an interesting guy. But it's a guy that really is shaking things up for the crypto market.
Okay.
Some people, he's very divisive. Some people love him. Some people hate him. And he's Larry Fink. Here we go. This is a reminder to every country. And it is a reminder to every company. Access to capital is a privilege, not a right. What do you think about that one, Tim?
I think my face is covering the word right. So if you could scroll that up, I want to fact check this quote. Oh, look there. You didn't lie to us. It's good. You didn't lie to us. Reminder to every country, it's a reminder to every company. Access to capital is a privilege, not a right. I mean, it's not wrong. You don't have the right to capital. That's one I will say, Larry. It's a little more obvious, but maybe he's speaking more to countries. Sometimes governments do feel like they have the right to your capital, hence taxes that make no sense. Put a 1 in chat if you feel that kind of pain. I'm going to put a 1 in chat just because I said that. You guys are going to see a 1 a couple minutes early, and you're not going to know what it's for. That's what it's for. But T-Shirm, do you ever feel that pain of the tax man calling?
I do. Taxes suck, guys. But the good thing about this time of year is that you have an advocate, guys. You really do. You may not even know it yet, but it's decrypted.tax. Decrypted.tax is someone that we've partnered up with. His name's Ernest. We know him. He's literally had meetings with us. He does our taxes, and he's offering a 60-minute free consultation so that you can go ahead and get your personal taxes in order. He also does corporate taxes, but the deadlines have kind of passed for those. Although if you haven't done those, you're going to absolutely need him because he's also a tax attorney. So he's going to help you get out of that little pickle you've got yourself in. But when it comes to taxes, decrypted.tax is going to be your best bet. They're really awesome, very, very experienced. And if you let Ernest know that we sent you, you actually get a discount as well. So decrypted.tax is going to be where you want to go this tax season to get your taxes figured out. And I didn't even mention this, but crypto. If you're trading or investing in crypto, more than likely, whatever tax professionals you're working with today, they may not be ready to optimize your taxes and help you pay as little as legally possible back to the IRS. So,
yeah. We're going to have Ernest on the show sometime early next week. We're finalizing that, but I'm interested to get his take on it because not only does he know taxes, obviously, he knows crypto. That's why he's a crypto tax attorney. I'm interested to get his take not only on what this tax season is going to look like, T-Shroom, because again, I'm kind of sitting here. I'm glad I have Ernest, but I'm sitting here saying, oh gosh, I actually made gains this year. I'm going to owe some money. I'm interested what that looks like, but also, have you heard? And now there's some. I heard earlier on Discover Crypto that this is actually just for businesses, but there was a thing that got passed January 1st that if you send $10,000 to someone, they're supposed to get your social security number, get all of your details, and report it to the IRS so that they can know how crypto is moving. I think it's to stop money laundering, obviously. Now,
Yep.
when I first heard about it, it sounded like it was individuals. And when I read it for myself, it makes it sound like every single human ever. I did hear someone claim that it's just for businesses, but we got to look more into that. I wonder if Ernest has any thought on that because, again, he's not just a tax man. He's an attorney, so he understands that kind of
Yep.
law stuff a lot better. We'll have to ask him that next week.
I think what ends up happening with this one, Tim, this isn't my original thought. I can't remember who said it. But what ends up happening with this is you're going to see a lot of crypto transfers for $9,999.99 of Tether, right? And that's just the way that that's going to go, right? I wonder what it'll be. Yeah. So anyway, but
Speaking of when the show's over, you can send me.
Yeah, it's just like when people launder money by going to Switzerland and making a deposit, right, and then buying watches and bringing them back. They do it under $10,000 worth of watches, right? It's not. This isn't rocket science, right? It's also not financial or tax advice, but that's what people do to obfuscate these very silly rules. But the thing is just having the rules do keep people from doing just that, But it's the particularly avid, people who want to squeeze that lemon even more that go ahead and actually push the rules to their limit.
Well, we'll unwrap that little cookie a little bit next week. Let's go ahead and jump on in here, kind of introduce the crypto, just market cap. We'll look through a couple coins. We'll do some TA, but we'll get to that news. A lot of you guys are clicking on this video saying that there's some huge news. There is some big news coming that is going to make you feel all warm inside. It's going to make you feel good. We are here to dispel any and all FUD keeping you discouraged in a day where we did see a lot of red. And yes, there was a lot of red. Bitcoin down 5.6% today. Ethereum down 7%. You know what's crazy? BNB up 1%. So everybody else suffers. BNB up 1%. Still over $300 here.
Lido's up a lot too. I noticed.
Well, the only problem with Lido is it's not a top 10 coin. So I'm doing a little 10 of the top guys. We're bleeding pretty heavily. Solana down 9%. XRP. Hey guys, it's not a stable coin. It knows how to drop in price. Kind of hovering there around that 57 mark. We were around 56 earlier today. Had a little bit of a bounce back there. Cardano down 9%. Avalanche down 11%. Dogecoin down 10%. Let's take a look at the biggest gainers and losers of the top 100. Say continues to have itself quite a week, up 87%. T-Shroom. We're going to have to do some deep dive on Say. I know here at Discover Crypto, a lot of people here are really bullish on it. Other than the fact that the chart looks really, really good, I have no opinions on it, so we're going to have to do a deeper dive in there. Arbitrum having itself a good week, 32%, up 12% on the day. Like you said, Lido DAO is up 17 on the week, 8% today, so the majority of that, a little less than half of that coming in today. Let's see big losers. This is where you are going to see some names. And the truth is everything's kind of bounced back, so these losses are not even going to be as big as they really could have shown. Bonk down 17%. That is our big loser. Terra Classic down 16. Conflux down 15. Sats down 15%. None of our big movers, those Filecoins up there in the big losers. So is Sandbox, but another top 10 cracking into the big loser. So you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Let's take a look, though, and talk about what is happening in the world of crypto. Now, let's go out kind of a macro. If we get into some Q&A later and people want to go a little deeper, we can go deeper into any of these coins. But we're kind of going to start off the show with some fly-by TA here. We had a big drop off. You guys know if you watched my morning video this morning, that goes out every day at 8:30. Which I don't know. I don't know if we're going to keep doing 8:30. I don't know if I'm going to go a little earlier. Our members get to see it probably about a half hour before any of our regular viewers. So if you want to see our videos early, make sure to join the membership for that and a plethora of other reasons. But big wick down, massive volume coming in. I do not think that we're going to be dropping back down to these levels. There's a chance that we do, obviously, and the reason why is because while we filled the higher little CME gap today, and you can see we're kind of staying within that zone. It's actually kind of funny. We come down, we fill it, and then we've been using that exact zone as support and resistance. Nice little shooting star right there, kind of bringing us back down here. But there is another one below us, technically speaking. Let's come out here a little further out to the 4-hour chart. If the button will click, there we go. A lot of people think that this is the gap that we could be heading down to. This price right here, down to 39,200, is on the Bitcoin futures. Just so you guys know, we see a deviation, about a $500 to $1,000, depending on the price action. We see the price kind of go in different directions. So if we were to see this gap get filled and the CME futures drops to 39,200, almost 39,300, give or take, we could see the price of Bitcoin actually drop a little bit lower, come down towards 38,300, maybe 38,700, right in this zone, right back down pretty much around the golden pocket area, coming down to testing it as support. If you go over and you look at our liquidations, let's see what we have over here. Oh, I was looking at VeChain earlier. That's a different conversation. Let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin, and let's look at the 7-day liquidations. Oh, would you look at that? It wants me to freaking refresh the entire sign in. I don't have the password here. It is at my desk. You know what we're going to do today? That sucks. But that's okay, because we're just going to use our backup here, a free tool that any of you guys can use, and that would be over on CoinGlass. It's our free tool day. I like using both, just so you guys know, and this isn't a plug because we don't have an affiliate link for HighBlock. It is a paid indicator. I really do like it. I want to get a deal for it right now. Actually, by the way, you can get up to 60% off, so we need to figure that one out. But a free version, CoinGlass, you can still look at these liquidations. I feel like I get more information from HighBlock, but definitely on the 12-hour, I was going to show you guys, I think there's a decent chance we drop back around, if not a little bit below 42 again. We are seeing some volume come in here, some longs around right at about 41.8. Let's go out to the weekly, though. This is where you would see this if I was on HighBlocks, which, again, I like it better, and I'm not seeing it as much. Let's go out a month. Let's see if it's if I don't get it here. This is one of the reasons why I prefer HighBlocks. It shows me more information. Yeah, it's not really giving me what I want here. You're not to take my word for it here, guys. Let's go to 3 months, see if it pops up on 3 months, because it's not even going down to 38. Like on HighBlock, the 7-day gives me price action all the way down towards 34. So 30 here. This one has down to 30, 34, give or take, some liquidations there. On our HighBlock one, though, we have some heavy liquidity coming in around 38,000, 38,300, 400 or so, which would be, if we end up filling that lower gap, that would be the price level we're getting to here. So not giving us all the information we really want here, CoinGlass, but, it's doing the best it can. I do feel decently strong, though, that we could see Bitcoin drop a little bit lower here. Let's come back over to the charts. Let's come into some lower time frames. Let's go towards the 15-minute one right here. You will see as we start to pull some stuff up. Yes, we got super low with the RSI, super low with our MACD. I do not think we're going to see our RSI and MACD drop back below this, but what would be a perfect little thing to happen? We could potentially be seeing some good old bullish divergence for me in here. Take a look coming in. This one, actually, I wonder if it's the 10 minutes. Let's go 30 minutes. 30 minutes where we don't have a daily close lower than, or we don't have a close below 42. Wouldn't be surprised if we actually make a move here down towards 42, maybe even a little lower, setting ourselves up for some bullish divergence where the RSI does not get back all the way to 11. The MACD does not come all the way back down to negative 751. But we do see the price levels close a little bit lower than over here, and we get ourselves some bullish divergence, and then price shoots to the upside. That's where you're kind of seeing with the liquidations. I might try to assign in the liquidations. Maybe when T Shroom is speaking, I can get the password and get into HighBlock so we can look at some of that stuff. Also, when we pull up some other Luxago stuff, yes, we are under a buy signal currently on the 15-minute chart, but you'll see we're kind of hovering with those liquidations. If I even pull up the Bollinger Bands, let's take a look here. Turn down Luxago for just a second. Was it the 10-minute? I can't remember how we did this exactly, but you will see, again, we're kind of in a trading zone right here. Definitely have that shooting star on Bitcoin right now, kind of making me feel that potentially we're going to be pulling ourselves back down here to the downside. And even if we don't get all the way down and close below 41.9, I do think we could see prices get back to this level, and maybe we have some bullish divergence with some of these other price points. It's more like the hourly chart. I guess this is where we're kind of looking at potential bullish divergence. Do we get down here close to the end of an hour and close down towards 42 on the hourly chart? That would be the bullish divergence we're looking for. Good news is, though, it does look like we're going to start to curve back up. Hourly MACD is curving up. The RSI on the hourly coming down to 21. You're going to see when you go back and look at this, we don't hit these levels this often. Here's one case we did go a little bit lower here, but the volume's nowhere as close. So when I see this high volume on the hourly chart and I see these low RSI numbers, when you see that match, that's usually a recipe for a bottom like we had back here December around the 10th. Even though we came down to similar levels, which again is something we're talking about here, this ended up being a good bottom mark before a rally to the upside. It's when you come down, like I said, 15-minute chart and lower. Take a look here. I don't remember which time frames I was looking at exactly, but when you kind of put a horizontal line here on these oscillators, you just do not get this low that often. Here, this is the 15-minute chart. Let's take a look. Come on now. Click the button. There we go. You don't get this move that often. If you scroll back in history, look at this. Coming close back here, but the last time we did this, again, oh, look at that. Back on that December 10th date, we just talked about being a very similar situation to where it is right now. Everything is screaming that this move to the downside was too strong, too fast, kind of a crazy move that just liquidated a lot of long positions, and now we're seeing them get rebuilt. I do think that we're going to be moving to the upside, and that's going to be combined with some news that we're going to cover here in just a second. We're going to go ahead and step away from charts, but we do have some interesting things developing on some altcoins. If you guys want to take a look at those during the Q&A section. But for right now, what you need to know, Bitcoin, it's volatile. It's moving up and down. We have not made a clear decision to go ahead and pump back to the upside. However, we're seeing the signs that move should be coming shortly. We just might have a small dip before it happens. But T-Shroom, that's the chart side of what we're seeing. What about the news? Let's get into that. Let's get our factoid of the day and then jump into the news section because I know there's some juicy headlines to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned before, this show is brought to you by Decrypt.tax. They are our tax partners. We use them. We love them. Decrypted.tax. That's where you want to go to sort out your taxes this tax season with crypto and businesses and real estate and any kind of investment or any kind of taxable event that happened to you. Decrypt.tax is going to be your guys. Tim, what was the nation that issued the first official government bond to fund a war against France in 1694? Was it A, England, B, Deutschland, otherwise known as Germany, C, Italy, or D, was it Spain?
I got no idea. Yeah, I mean, at this point, let's see. Against France, at this point, I actually don't know where Spain stood. I know Germany and England were not on good terms with France. There's a part of me that wants to say England, but I could also see very easily it being Germany. I don't know. Government bond. Let's go Germany. I don't know why, but let's go Germany.
The old Bund. That's how they spell bond over there.
Well, before we jump into the news, we just got a super chat, and we want to shout out Crypto. Seth is in the chat over here saying, amazing. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Seth. I actually was messaging him just a little bit ago. Got to call you a little bit later here, Seth, but always good to see you in chat. We got to get you back on the channel here very, very soon. Yeah. T-Shroom, let's jump into some of the headlines, though. Again, the charts telling us one story. Does the news back it up? What are we seeing with the news?
Well, the news is kind of – there's a lot of different – I was talking about it this morning on our 9 a.m. show. We go 9 a.m. live every single weekday. What is your theory of why we dumped from a fundamental standpoint? And then we'll get into the news. But I want to hear what you think.
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, obviously, that report from – what is it? The Matrix something. I don't remember
Matrix
the exact name.
Port. Yeah, this guy right
Matrix
here.
Port. Yeah, they came out with a report saying it's going to get rejected. I'm sure we'll dive into there. I'll give you more thoughts, but that was a spark. Mm-hmm. Also, the drop happened between the hours of 6 a.m. and about 8 a.m.
Right.
Well, what's happening around 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.? Is that really the Asian trading market? Not really. Is that the American trading market? No. You got some East Coast people waking up, but at the whole, you don't see the massive moves in the American market. So it was kind of, if we found ourselves dropping in a very vulnerable moment in the markets where, yes, we moved to the downside to fill out some long liquidations, but there was not enough bulls there to buy the dip. So it just kept getting worse and worse. And it's a trickling effect, like a snowball. If it rolls down a mountain and keeps growing and there's nothing that's going to stop it, no bull's going to buy, it can get out of control really, really fast. And that's a reason I'm pretty bullish right now is we cleared just a huge path of liquidations to where it's like, really, when you think about it over the next couple of days, there's nowhere to go but to the upside. And I know that sounds funny, but looking at that liquidations chart and especially hearing some news that's still positive right now, there's really just nothing but stuff above us, targets that traders, like there's not a lot of money for traders to make to short the market right now.
All right.
There's a lot of money to be made to long it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tim, why don't you go grab your password? You want to do that? And I'll take it from here.
I want to see if I remember it. I might have memorized it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, we're not
Don't share my screen.
We're not going to be on your screen for that. All right, guys. So Tim will join us for this. So
silly me, it was in here. I just clicked sign in and it was automatically on there, and I just had to refresh it.
All right, let me get through a story. So this was a story. Philippines Bourse says technical issue caused trading to halt. So yesterday, or at 3 a.m. GMT today, there was a halted exchange in the Philippines. So that's one little nugget. This one doesn't seem to be connected to anything else, but this could potentially be responsible for some liquidity rotation out of this exchange to go trade and arbitrage other markets while this one was halted. Who knows? But ultimately, I don't think this is the culprit, but it could be. Go ahead and exit out of that one. There's another one too, which is this one, which is Saudi Arabia and UAE officially joined the BRICS. What would this mean for the bloc? There's a bunch of details here about, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Egypt and Iran and Ethiopia joined BRICS officially as of January 1st. There's some speculation that in that joining that they went ahead and they sold off, their treasuries. And that would be somewhat in line with what we actually saw in treasuries very recently as of today. So let's go to the daily chart out of here for the treasury. Now, one thing to understand, if you may not be in bonds, this is why it's our factoid of the day. You may not understand bonds, but this is the yield, right? And the yield runs inverse to the amount of bonds that are being purchased and sold, right? So when there's not very much demand for bonds, the yield goes up, right? But so the government can entice folks to come in and buy their bonds and give the government money. You're not paying enough in taxes, so you want to give the government more money. Here, you can buy our bonds, and we'll give you a promised rate of return. So anyway, the interest rate, the yield on these bonds spiked up, meaning what? Meaning that a bunch of bonds got sold. By whom? Well, maybe it was these gigantic governments that actually had a bunch of bonds on the balance sheet. Saudi Arabia was something like the 10th most. I tried to pull it up, but I couldn't find it. They're the 10th largest holder of bonds globally, which is pretty big. And, it's very likely that they went ahead and dumped on the market all those bonds, shot not only the 10-year up, but that also would have affected the Dixie. And we saw the Dixie did shoot up, right? So anyway, that is another possible reason why Bitcoin went ahead and dumped. But in reality, Tim, it's kind of like the old nature versus nurture, debate. It's going to be a little bit of a mix of probably a lot of these things. And after all, we are at the first, 73 hours of trading for an entirely new year, right? So this is not to be really all that shocking. The other thing, too, that I was pointing out on the 9 a.m. show, and Tim, you mentioned this a little bit, but if you zoom out to Bitcoin, we had a very big breakout, right? We had a very big breakout. And so, of course, it was just a quick little test lower. Now, a lot of people got wrecked to the tune of, I think I saw 400 million in liquidity that was of liquidations. It did go ahead and wicked lower down to the lows that hadn't seen a wick since December 18th, right? But that's really not that far back. And then it recovered back into this wedge, back to prices that we saw literally just 2 days ago. So, and Caleb Franzen tweeted out, I think that something that summarizes it well, that, Bitcoin crashing to levels not seen in 2 days, right? So that's, it's a panic for those who are newer to crypto, and you're probably seeing memes, and tweets, snarky tweets to that effect today. But ultimately, the news is showing signs of bullishness, and now we'll go into that. So we've tried to biopsy, this flash crash, so to speak. We've tried to figure out what is the origin of it. Ultimately, it's probably a couple of different things. And that report, the report from this company, Matrix Port. I'm not going to read it. I read it on my 9 a.m. show, the entire thing, and essentially they're tying the American elections and the Democrat and what they're going to be able to do behind the scenes. They're tying that to what's going to happen with the spot Bitcoin ETF, and that the powers that be have no incentive to authorize, to accept this, to approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. But that's just them saying it. And then also, if you look, they just days before the same exact day, they issued a headline saying Bitcoin spot ETF approval imminent. So, right, ultimately, these guys just took a huge, Matrix Port just took a huge blow to their credibility, and likely nobody will be taking them seriously for quite a while, especially in the crypto space.
Yeah, I think the other thing that you would point out here is, to be fair, this is what we all do. We all speculate, but they're trying to put themselves as that they're this professional entity that has some insider information that they go project this stuff. But they're literally just saying it, their whole premise bases on the fact that 5 of the voting members are Democrats. Democrats don't like crypto. For those reasons, they're going to deny it. And it's like, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Sorry, I phlegm in my throat. To be honest with you, I am one of the people who said I don't feel like Gary Gensler is going to approve this. And I'm holding on to a technicality that he hasn't approved it yet, although I'm feeling like T. Shroom is going to be right here when T. Shroom said we're going to see an ETF by the 10th. What I'm going to say, though, is that I am not a professional insider who knows what's happening. I am just going off of what I know, and that is that Gary Gensler is a wild card. And so I'm saying, all right, I don't think it's going to happen. Right? These guys are acting like they have a lot of information, and they're saying it to an audience size, and they're saying it in a way that is making people want to react financially. It's really, really dangerous for them to do this. And here's the thing, especially when they say it like it's fact, but then you read into the details and it's just merely speculation. At least those of us influencers are clear. Hey, we're just going with our intuition. We don't know what's going to happen here. We're waiting on Gary Gensler. It's kind of a move that I'm not actually that surprised, T. Shroom, and it's a move that's not surprising in the sense of we know that a lot of these whales are wanting to buy before this news gets approved, and so anything that they can get to drop the price to get a more favorable buy, you have to start to ask the question: was this leaked on purpose? Were they told, hey, you got to throw some FUD out there, because they don't really have evidence, and yet it hit with such a hammer to make the prices drop 10% within legitimately 1 hour. 1 hour, 10% dip is pretty severe when there was no real concrete news. I'm back to the my tinfoil hat, or my tinfoil hat, as some have called it. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here calling farce, calling manipulation. Then you pair that. Also, the last thing I'll say. Then you pair it with the Jim Cramer stuff. We didn't know how right we were going to be yesterday with our title. Jim Cramer curse continues to be a thing, but we'll continue on.
The other thing too, the other thing too is the group that may have incentivized Matrix Port to issue this report. They may have also had the knowledge, right, that there was going to be a sell-off in the bond market as well. Whether that has to do with Saudi Arabia and the UAE directly selling off their bonds that the sovereign owned, or whether it was other bond traders who were going to sell off, seeing just the headline officially that Saudi Arabia and the UAE joined BRICS, right? Both of those could be sell the bonds events. And ultimately, when we're talking about currencies, cryptocurrencies, the dollar is extremely significant, which is heavily tied to treasuries and treasury yields. One thing I did want to point out on the Bitcoin chart before we get to the resolution, right? The good feels, the good vibes, because there are many today in the news as well, is you haven't seen a candle body close lower than 41,200. You've seen some wicks, but there are voracious buyers just below 41,200. And I don't know that we'll ever see a candle body down below 41 anymore, right? Just because we haven't gotten it yet. We had 4, now 5 opportunities to get a candle body close below 41,000. Not saying you can't wick down below that, right? But we've
Well,
seen
now we have come to an impasse once again. You don't think a daily candle goes below 41 ever again?
I'm thinking, well, if you look at the data right here, right, we haven't had one since December 4th, right? We escaped the rest of December without having one. I think that especially if that was the dip, right? If that was the bringing back of the ship, which it wasn't very deep,
It wasn't.
back into price, lower price action. But if that was the bringing back of the ship, right, and then that might be it. Now then we might have more wicks to come. Still there could be some news with CZ. There could be another report. Bloomberg could issue some report. There could be some even more reputable news source that says the ETF isn't going to be approved. But it's like you say, Tim. Until we hear it from the lips of Gary Gensler, it's really not final. So I think we are at an impasse, Tim, because I'm not going to sit here and bet that we won't see a candle body close. But there's been ample opportunity for on the daily chart for it to close in it, and it hasn't for the whole month of December.
I'll make the argument. The reason why it hasn't is because there's been no real reason for it to do that, right? I do believe there's one thing that I still believe, and I don't think it's going to happen the way he thinks it's going to happen, but I don't think that Jim Cramer's wrong when he says an approval will be a sell the news event. It's just not going to be immediate, right? I do believe we're going to see a spike in price action for a short number of days. I don't know if that's going to be 1, 2, 3, maybe a whole week of price continuing to the upside, but there will reach a point after a big rally and the price is oversent to the upside. We will follow history. I talked about it this morning on my video in the morning. We have never in the history of Bitcoin, and I know it's not an old history, but it's getting up there, right? We are now approaching 15 years, almost 16 years, 15 years of Bitcoin's existence. And in every single pre-halving bull trend, there has been at least one, if not two, pullbacks of at least 40%. Of course, back in 2019, we talked about a 54% pullback. Don't count the Black Swan event. That was an outlier event. But if you go back to the years before that, 2016, there was 2 different 40% pullbacks. If you go back to 2012, there was, I think, 2 or 3 40% pullbacks, right? We have not had a full pullback. In fact, the biggest pullback we've had happened back when we touched 30,000, 31,000, and then we pulled back down to 25. That was a 20% pullback, but that was not significant. I still believe we're looking at a 40%. And the targets we talked about this morning, we can go back on the charts if they want to, but we're looking, I think realistically, we're looking at $50,000 to $53,000 for Bitcoin at the top. I showed on this morning's TA, there's a gap in the volume at 53,000. It looks very, very juicy. It looks like a great target to get to, right? T-Shroom, do you know what 40,000 or 40,000? Do you know what 40% dip from 53,000 would put the price action at?
Let's see, maybe like 30,000, something like that.
31,000.
31.
Where was our strong resistance level before the massive breakout that we have not retested to this time, and we've never seen the price just break through these levels of resistance and then not pull back to touch them? What's that level?
I'm definitely seeing a lot of resistance here at 31,000, Tim.
Right. So to me, I do still think that 40% pullback is coming. I'm not saying we're going to close a candle at 31,000. I think realistically, we're talking about a candle close somewhere closer to 34, 35, but a wick down to 31,000. But I don't see a candle body close at 41,000 and then a wick down to 31,000 all in one day. $10,000 in one day down and up, that'd be something to see. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think that I don't think we will see that before the ETF approval or denial. I think after the approval or the denial, I think there's going to be so much volatility and so many important people coming out and saying things, whether bullish or bearish, that I think that who knows what could happen, right? I don't think that we see sub 25K Bitcoin. I can't really fathom that, right? But who knows what kind of pressure could come out if JP Morgan really doubles down on their belief that these spot Bitcoin ETFs are going to be the opening to Hell's Gate of suppression of Bitcoin price. They could just really hammer away at that narrative. They could do it, right? They could operate their mechanisms to be able to short Bitcoin and put pressure to the downside. But that's only going to last so long because ultimately Bitcoin is what it is, and it's a up and to the right type of asset. So it's all bets are off post approval / denial, and we'll see. But I think before then, no, we don't get a candle body close before
Yeah,
below 41,000.
I could. Okay, there's where we agree. That I don't think we're
Nice.
going below before the approval. Now I want to dispel a rumor before it gets away from here. Enoch Sosh, no. Tim is not saying that the high for 2024 Bitcoin is 53,000. Tim is saying potentially the high for the pre-halving run, which is what we're currently in right now. That's for my high is 53,000. I believe within the year 2024, we can see the price go up to about 50 to 53,000, dip back down to 31,000, and then rally in the summertime. After the halving event, we have an approved ETF. We have trillions of dollars trickling in. At that point, let's call it billions. I don't know if we'll have trillions at that point by the end of the year. I see the price of Bitcoin ending 2024 somewhere right around, if not a little above, 80,000. That's my prediction for the end of 2024, not 53,000. So good catch there. If anyone walked away thinking that's what I was saying, end of 2024, that is not what I was saying. I was saying pretty much 53,000 before the halving, which again is going to happen sometime March, April area, and then pull back 40% and then start the real rally summertime.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I think that's pretty good, and I appreciate Enoch. Appreciate you keeping us honest, because you probably weren't the only one who understood it like that. But Tim corrected himself accordingly. Tim's Redman has said, Tim and T Shroom, heck of a day, right? Paper hands will get shook out. Don't let them manipulate you. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, dude, it's a heck of a day, and I put this on Twitter, T Shroom, and it's a great day to remind people of this. Today, the candle we saw this morning is the exact reason why A, you do not trade with a significant portion of your portfolio, and B, you use stop losses, right? I have already seen comments and I've seen tweets and I've seen posts of people who were over leveraged in long positions because of that breakout of the symmetrical triangle pattern that they put upwards of 50 to 75% of their crypto portfolio into a trade with no stop loss, and just lost everything. There are people right now, and I say that almost like lighthearted. I want to actually stop and be serious. If there's anyone listening to this show and that describes you, I'm very sorry, and my heart goes out to you. And I want to urge you guys, hey, this pain you're feeling, make it constructive. Or if you know someone the pain you're feeling, make it constructive. There's two ways to look at this. When you lose that much money, it is gut wrenching. It makes you question everything. Hopefully, your brain is not in a level of doing anything crazy and hurting yourself in any way. But there's two ways to look at this. You can look at this and say, I'm hurt, I'm tired, I'm done. I'm done with crypto. I'm not investing anymore. And you're going to be walking away from the ability to make life-changing wealth. The second way you can look at this is you just paid the tuition of a lifetime. Yes, you will not see that money again. You'll have to rebuild it. But you learned a very valuable lesson. And that valuable lesson is what I just said there. This is something, listen, I'm a trader. I'm a technical analyst. I love trading. I love making money. I have big plans to make millions of dollars in my life doing trading. But I will never trade with a hefty percentage of my portfolio. Right now, my trading portfolio is roughly 10% of my total portfolio. And that's actually, you want to know why? It started out as 5%. I have built it over the last month into 10% of my portfolio. That's the cool part. Is you start with a small percentage and you make it a larger percentage, and then it gets too big and you take some of those profits and you put it into your long-term hodl, but you do not keep your trading portfolio as a high percentage of your portfolio as a whole. The second thing is you put stop losses in place so that if a trade goes haywire like it did this morning, you're not in a position where you lose all your money. You only lose a portion of it, and you learn from that mistake, and you learn to live and move on. Here's the thing. I think Kelly just commented. Kelly paid a $70,000 tuition on trades. Can I tell you guys right now, Kelly, at that time, $70,000, because Kelly and I are good friends, that was the majority of his money. Not just crypto money. That was the majority of his money. Kelly learned his lesson and has now made way more than $70,000. He has made it all back and then some. But he had to go through that gut-wrenching experience and learn and come out from the other side a lot better, and that's made him into the great trader he is today. My goal in life is to learn all of these lessons from people like Kelly and others and never have to live through it myself. Make sure you have proper risk to reward management and you never go crazy with your trades. Don't think about making all that money today in this next trade. It's a long-term plan. It's a plan that you're going to be making for the next 15, 20, 30 years of your life. Don't try to go for all of it today. That's what happens when you do, and people get wrecked.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Yeah,
Absolutely. Bedridden being a savage in the chat, having a laugh at Kelly's expense, saying, "You forgot the stop loss, Kelly? LOL."
By the way,
Yeah.
just so you guys know, we're not talking about like Kelly last week or Kelly this is like, I don't know if Kelly's still in chat. What, 4 or 5 years ago? I think he's probably only a year into trading, if that. He had to learn a lot of stuff, but that's
Yeah.
You
Well, that's
live
the
and you learn.
foundation. But the emotions and the lesson and all of that is the foundation that you build upon to be a lifelong trader. You don't just become a profitable trader because you clicked on a YouTube ad and you learn and you took a course. Like you have to get in there and you have to retrain your brain to stick around when it's painful and to leave when it's tempting to buy. And that's easier. It's easy to hear that and it's easy to think about that logically, but to actually do it. And many of you guys watching and listening right now know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's why you're the real ones tuned into the Investing Bros. Well, Tim, we've got that good news. You want to go ahead and slide on into it before or after we get the answer to the factoid?
No, let's get there. We'll get the factoid, then we'll jump back into some Q&A, look at some charts, and call it a day here on the live show.
Seth is dropping some of the big gains he's been making. He's up 55x on VAI, 40x on NACA, INJ, and Track. Seth, I'm interested. How did you buy Track? Because I attempted to buy Track, and it's on Gate.io. But how did you buy it? I'm curious what exchange you purchased it on. Some good news here, guys, is that Michael Saylor commences plan to sell $216 million worth of MicroStrategy shares in order to buy. What do you think it is, Tim? What do you think he's going to buy with that money?
I have no idea. Bitcoin.
There you go. Tim got it. Yeah. And his intention is to buy Bitcoin. And that's going to be obviously very, very bullish. We don't know exactly when he wants to buy that, but exercising this option will allow me to address personal obligations as well as acquire additional Bitcoin to my personal account. I put a tweet on my account, my Twitter account. I'm going to pull it up really quickly. It was a poll of who do you think is a better investor, Warren Buffett or Elon or Michael Saylor. Tim, what do you think the percentage split is on Warren Buffett versus Michael Saylor? Who's considered a better investor in 10 years?
The last 10 years?
Yeah. No, in 10 years from now, right? 2033,
Oh, it's going to be Michael Saylor. I thought you meant the last 10 years. But yeah, it's going to be Michael Saylor.
So the split is 89% of people think that in 10 years, Michael Saylor will be considered a better investor. I agree with that.
Warren Buffett's it was a good investing strategy for, the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, but his strategy is outdated. His strategy isn't going to work. The companies he's going big on, I'm not saying they're not going to go up whatsoever, but they're massive gains. You got to remember, he made all his money on these companies. He bought them in the beginning, and then they just went nuts. The biggest gainers are cryptos right now. That's what the next 10 years is going to look like. And so if Warren Buffett can change his mind and adapt with the times, which doesn't happen all the times, but you can still teach old dogs new tricks. That old saying you can't is false. You can, but the dog's got to be willing to be trained.
Yeah.
And at this point, Warren isn't wanting to be trained.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that he'll ever be pro Bitcoin. I don't think he will be, just because it goes against his entire thesis.
Yeah. Ninja Glock makes a good point, T-shirt. And I'm not trying to be insensitive. I think it's actually a good point. Buffett will more than likely be dead in 10 years. And the second part is where you're kind of more mocking. I think that first statement is actually true. I mean, how old is Warren? He's in his 90s for sure, right? No?
Yeah. I mean, consider. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I would love to see him come around. I remember reading a report, I think in 2021, that technically Warren Buffett has exposure to Bitcoin because he owned, he
owns a company that has, it's a roundabout. Yeah.
He owned a bank that owned some Tesla. I don't think Berkshire Hathaway. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the big story of the day. This is the big bullish story, guys. The SEC to finalize comments on spot Bitcoin ETF with stock exchanges today. So they're meeting up the big guys, right? The big guys in Wall Street, Larry Fink and yours truly, Gary Gensler, meeting up to have one final chat before the big day. SEC holding meeting today with the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, the CBOE, and others to finalize comments on the spot Bitcoin ETF reported by Fox Business Eleanor Tourette. So I think she was the one to break some pretty big news in the past, and she's breaking this one now. Again, this would just it's kind of another tick towards my side of the thesis, which is that there will be an acceptance and of the applications for the spot Bitcoin ETF. How many times have I said spot Bitcoin ETF in 2023? In December alone, I wonder. I feel like I've said it a handful of times at least, but
good amount, yeah.
This is causing folks to be hopeful in the crypto space and on Wall Street, as this is yet another sign that hopeful, optimistic sign that these applications will be approved. And what's interesting to me is that Bitcoin, while it has retraced a good amount, it still is kind of towards the bottom of a range that it's been in. So obviously we'll talk more about the price action in future episodes. But Tim, what do you think at this point? Are you ready to change your mind?
No, because there's always it's almost like at this point I'm just playing with house money, right?
Sure.
I want people to be clear, in case anyone was lost on this. Me saying that I don't think it's going to happen is not me saying I don't want it to happen. I would love to be wrong. In fact, I will make a lot of money in my trading and in my investments that I will more than pay for the steak dinner for T-Shroom. However, I'm not giving it up yet, because at the same time, as much as I want it to go ahead and be approved, so it's not the top story in the news anymore. We can talk about other things, and price action can do its thing. But also, like, it would be really good for Bitcoin. I just don't trust Gary Gensler. That's really what it boils down to, T-Shroom. When you ask me, Tim, will we get an approval? You'd have to be asking me, do I trust Gary Gensler? The answer is no. Am I hoping it happens? Is it possible it happens? Is it likely it happens? All of those are probably yes. But ultimately, my decision boils down to, do you trust Gary Gensler to make the right decision? And my answer is flat out no. I saw something good today, and we're not going to get too far down this rabbit hole, but so I saw a tweet that said if they can delay the Epstein list, they can delay the Bitcoin ETF. And I thought that was pretty dead on. That's actually pretty dead on analysis.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, for those of you who are, more macro-minded, and you've probably been covering another story as well, which is that the Fed minutes dropped today, and we do have that. We do have that ready. I don't know if you've been covering this today, but Fed minutes participants viewed policy rate as likely at or near its peak. Okay, so that's bullish generally. All officials said clear progress made in 2023 towards Fed's 2% inflation target, generally bullish. FOMC minutes, officials judged that GDP growth would cool, labor market rebalance would continue in 2024. Neither, that's kind of neutral. Officials reviewed risks to inflation, employment moving towards greater balance. Again, kind of neutral, and most participants expected restrictive policy stance to continue to soften, reducing inflation.
Yeah,
so that's also bullish.
CME futures aren't buying it. You go to my screen, 65% are predicting that we are going to see a rate cut. That we're currently at 525 to 550. So that's this over here. There's still 30% almost saying that we're going to see it pause in March. But March, 65% saying 25 basis point cut, 6% saying a 50. Now, that's pretty outrageous right now. Just so you guys know, January, 91% chance, only about 9% chance we get a rate cut in January. But it's looking pretty overwhelming. Not that these are perfect, and there's still plenty of time between now and March for this to change. But if we can keep this level, if we keep this 65, I have not in the 2+ years that we have been covering and predicting what is going to happen with interest rate cuts, I've never once seen the CME group be wrong, right? I've seen their decision change. Like, I've seen them call something 3 months out, and then as you get closer, they change their mind. So we have to keep watching this. But if it holds this level and we get to the day before the decision and it's still sitting up here at this likely level of 65%, we're going to see a rate cut in March. The CME group seems to know what's going on, even if it's not what Jerome Powell and the rest of the Fed are saying.
Yeah. No, it's really good, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Tim. Those CME predicting tools are very, very useful, and I don't think they're going anywhere. We heavily relied on them in 2023, and in 2024, they're absolutely going to be useful for market participants. Now we've got our factoid of the day. So let's go ahead and jump over to that to get.
Can we let's address chat real quick? I know we got 10 minutes
it.
left here, and we'll have more Q&A after this answer. DJ Monte, first of all, want to thank you so much for your engagement. Thank you for being here. We had 123 people in chat right now. Thank you to everyone who's here. Go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe if you are not already. But he says, not to believe that it will be approved is generally possible, but very, very unlikely. I don't trust Gary as well, but Larry has much more power. Let me explain, DJ, that's a great point. But let me explain to you why that doesn't kill this, is because it's not Larry that is owed a response. If they approve them, they will approve BlackRock and Larry Fink altogether, right? They're not going to approve some and leave Larry Fink out of it. But Larry Fink doesn't deserve a response until March. The only company that actually deserves a response right now is ARK Invest.
Mm-hmm.
And I still see a path where Gary comes up with some form of a reason to say, hey, there's still some concerns. We're not saying no. We're not denying. Just give us a little more time to make sure we get all these filings correct, right? Just so you guys know, I am not predicting. My thought is not that he's going to come out and say, never mind. No, we're not doing ETFs. ETFs are coming. ETFs are coming in 2024. ETFs are at least coming by March when Larry Fink deserves an answer. He's not going to go against Larry Fink. The problem is this time around, this open window is not against Larry Fink. It's only against Cathie Wood and ARK Invest. And I don't see that as being a major roadblock to stop Gary from saying yes. Now, everything we're seeing in the news is saying it looks like he's going to say yes, and that would be a beautiful thing. But just in case you're wondering, well, if he says no and delays it, is he hurting Larry Fink? No, he's not. Larry Fink's not going to like it, but Larry Fink wouldn't have anything to sue him over because he has all the way until March 15th to give Larry Fink an answer. That's kind of my thinking here.
Yep, absolutely. The Jenny from the block giving you your props. How about Tim killing it on DC Live this morning?
Thank you. Yeah.
I got to catch a couple minutes of it, and I got to admit, I was enchanted. Just as much as I'm enchanted by your wisdom here on Investing Bros. So you got to love it. Now let's see.
Yeah, let's see if I get this answer
keep
right.
up that winning streak here.
I've been losing on this streak. I don't think I've gotten an answer right in a little bit.
England.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were close. You guessed Germany. I forgot to highlight it.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
What do you have to say for yourself, Tim?
I do think I'm on a streak of like narrowing it down to 2.
You are.
No, yesterday I said it wasn't Harvard for Jim Cramer. I think I made it Penn State, or I don't know what my second option was there. But yeah, no, I sat there and wrestled with Germany and England. I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew that both of them were anti-France for a long time there. I just didn't know which one it should have bombed.
Well, the Factoid Elf got this fact from the Wikipedia page, government bond, which is is apparently one of the favorites of the Factoid Elf. So it actually wasn't the very first bond. The first bond was the Dutch Republic became the first state to finance its debt through bonds when it assumed bonds issued by the city of Amsterdam in 1517, which actually, do you know what else happened in 1517, Tim? The Protestant Reformation began. Okay, moving along. The first official government bond issued by a national government, right? So this would have been a city government. By a national government was issued by the Bank of England in 1694 to raise money to fund a war against France. So from the beginning, bonds were essentially to finance war. It's very, very interesting, and we've never turned back since. It's still a great way to fund wars.
There we go.
So anybody looking to start a war, start with bonds.
Well, let's get in here and do some Q&A to wrap out the show here for about 6 minutes, give or take. Army Piper in chat. What is up, Piper? Good to see you here. Let's see here. DJ Monte says, thanks for picking this. Yep, absolutely, DJ. Love your guys' engagement. What's some of your guys' questions? Redmond says, all we need is 5% of the voting population to use and advocate crypto. 5% will swing a vote. I actually don't really know that much about. I wouldn't know. You do more election stuff, T-Shroom. Is 5% enough to swing a vote?
On an issue? I don't know. That seems
Well, I'm assuming what he's talking about would be, I would assume he's talking about 5% of people that don't vote. Because, like, obviously, you have your people that will vote no matter what. But one of the largest things that decides an election is whether or not a large portion of the population is going to vote at all or not. But you get them worked up enough. You know, people who are prone to be more conservative, sometimes they don't vote. But if the country's really going crap and the Democrats suck, they're going to come out of the woodwork and vote. Vice versa. If you lean liberal but you don't really like to vote, but the Republicans been in power and you hate what they're doing, they'll come out of the woodwork. So I think what he's saying is 5% of the kind of sometimes don't vote, but if they get up in arms, they could swing the vote. I would assume that's what Redmond's trying to get at.
Here's what I'll say about Bitcoin, crypto, and the elections. Right now, it is not an issue. It is not a big enough issue to the likes of gun control, immigration, healthcare, and things like that. But it's a halving year, right? So by the time we get to November, it could be a very significant portion of the population that has bought into Bitcoin, and then they have something to lose, and so they would be interested in voting for one candidate over another. Do you know when the Republican primary elections are?
No,
I mean, it's Trump would face off with
soon.
Yeah,
it's got to be soon. I mean, that's why we have all the news kind of heating up with certain states not allowing Trump to even be on the ballot, and I'm assuming it's including the Republican ballot, not just the presidential one of next year. And how does that, again, that's another issue I don't know. With these news, I know Colorado and Maine are the ones that have made a big splash. I don't know if there's been other states doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Now saying that Trump can't get on the ballot. If Trump wins the Republican nomination, do they have to let him on next fall when they have the election, or do they keep him off for that one too?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just an automatic win, whoever the Democrat is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really super interested in that, like, sub narrative, because the Republicans would never have won Colorado and Maine.
Oh no, they're not. Yeah,
and
it's kind of a moot point, but
it's kind of obviously unconstitutional to me, at least. Maybe it ends up not being unconstitutional, but to me it seems pretty cut and dry.
I would imagine, unless he gets convicted guilty on all the charges,
mm-hmm.
I would have to imagine the Supreme Court's going to shoot those down. But it's definitely something that scares you.
Yeah. According to NBC and according to Google, it ends in September, the Republican primary. So
Scott says they start this month.
Yeah, it starts on the 15th in Iowa, the Republican primary, and then it ends in September, which is pretty crazy. There's no way that it can go that long.
September, no, September. They're campaigning all throughout summer for the actual, once we have the nominees, they're campaigning all summer for the election in the fall.
Yeah. Well, that is something we'll have to probably get to the bottom of in a different episode, unfortunately. Sorry about that, guys. Anybody in the chat looks like they know the answer?
Well, I mean, I saw Scott. Scott definitely said they start this month.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, in this next coming year, I just want to prepare everybody. We don't really want to go political. Of course, T. Shroom and I have our political thoughts. I'll go ahead and just let you guys know on a little whim here, in case you haven't picked up on already or haven't known, because we've said this before. We're libertarians. We are not diehard elephants or donkeys, right? I don't think it's a surprise that we both lean more conservative.
Yeah.
We definitely both have strong Christian values. But unfortunately, we have gotten to a place in the world where you cannot split crypto and political talk. We do the best we can to keep it that way. But this next year, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it. If anyone is sitting here thinking, man, I just want the bros to stay neutral and not talk politics, guess what? You're not going to hear as much politics here as you will probably on other channels, but you are going to hear some politics. It's pretty much impossible at this point not to have it. But here's the good news. I want you guys to know this from the bottom of my heart. If you disagree with my politics, I still respect you as a human. I know T-Shroom's the same way. In fact, if you ever hear us say something that's with one of our political thoughts and you disagree, feel free, with respect, the same respect I would give you, to tell us why you disagree. Tell us why you have a different opinion. This is something that the country needs to change. Like, we used to live in a country where you could disagree with each other and have a rational, reasonable, respectful conversation. And maybe you walk away from that conversation still disagreeing, but you can still walk away respecting each other. Today, everyone thinks if you disagree with me, you must hate me. And that's just not the case. I might think that you're wrong, but there is still respect to have on differing opinions. So I just want to go ahead and get that out of the way early in 2024. If you were expecting no political talk, you're a little wrong, and unfortunately, you're going to see it on every single channel. Every single channel is going to get slightly political. It's just how it's going to go because you can't get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, in order for crypto to be adopted, there's going to have to be legislative events that take place. And Tim, I would say, spoke very well on my behalf of what my political point of view is. I am a registered Republican, though, and the reason why I'm not like a gung-ho, I'm a diehard Republican, love the Republicans, for a lot of reasons. But I think what summarizes it well was Ron Paul was asked, how would you remedy the two-party system that seems to be the root of a lot of problems in the United States? They asked him, how would you fix it? What would you do differently so that the two-party system can actually work for the Republic rather than work against it? And Ron Paul's answer was, well, first you have to have a two-party system, right? Which is, basically him saying we have one party, which I do think is kind of the case. We like to distinguish ourselves against the communists over in China that have a defined one-party system, which is the People's Party, right? The Chinese Communist Party. But here in the United States, it's not clear to me that there really are two parties anymore. I think that you have American corporations and you have the U.S. government, and I think that the line between those two entities are very thin, and the line between the Republicans and the Democrats is very thin and probably not existent anymore. So to the extent that I'm a libertarian, I'm more just kind of in lockstep with Ron Paul's view that we don't really have a two-party system anymore, so you can't fix it. But
yeah. Well, here's the thing, guys. It is 4:02. We ran a little bit long here. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. But I'm about to go leave. I'm about to come off of the show, and I'm going to go work out. I was going to make a video this morning, and I'm going to make a video at some point this week when the charts aren't looking extremely exciting to talk about. But, it's January. What is the most common thing to happen in January is people make a New Year's resolution to go get healthy and lose weight. That is not what a New Year's resolution we're going to be having here at this channel. This is what we're going to have. We're going to go a step deeper. Guys, we are about to make a lot of money in 2024 if we can hold, if we can keep diamond hands, if we cannot fall for the FUD and just stay strong. Here is the thing. We need to stop and remember why we got into crypto. Is it just to make money? Or what is that money supposed to serve? Money in and of itself is pointless and stupid. What you can do with money is amazing. And so before we make the money, I want us all to stop and reflect on the why we're getting into it and start to make moves even right now to develop that. So there are a lot of people that you want to take care of your health. There are a lot of people that you want to build a successful family. There are a lot of people that want to get your mental state in order. There's a lot of people who want to improve their spiritual state as well. I'm going to make a video on a challenge that we're going to take together as an Investing Bros community, any aspect you can. But this year, we are not going to settle to just better ourselves financially. As an Investing Bros community, we're going to get ourselves better physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally, and also financially. That's going to come as we just sit and wait. But let's not wait for the money before we start making the rest of our lives better. If that's something you guys love and you're looking forward to that video, it will be coming out here very, very soon. You guys can jump on board. Just another thing you can do with the Investing Bros community. Go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe. We will see you guys tomorrow morning with our same lineup. 8:30 in the morning upload, 9 o'clock live stream, and 3 p.m. live stream once again. With that said, though, you guys have an amazing evening, and we will see you tomorrow.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence.